By fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Hog Style. I'm Sean. That's Steve. That's Alex. We got a totally passable show for you today. Lots to talk about with the wild card round of the playoffs now over and the divisional round looming, plus some Redskins news as well. How you guys doing, Alex? I know we had to start a little late because your cat got into the mixer again.
Yeah.
Professional operation that we have over here.
Yeah, you know, that's the nice thing about working from home is your pets will destroy anything you're working with.
I just love the idea that we only have a passable show. We don't have a great show or even a good show. We just have a passable show, meaning it's a show that you can get through if you have intestinal fortitude.
It's kind of a 7 and 9 level show. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. Look, the trick to surprising people is low expectations, guys. That's
Set
mantra
the
around
bar
here.
low and exceed that small, tiny bar.
Exactly. So don't expect much, folks. We're going to blow you away tonight. So, anyways, we had a nice poll, I believe, that went out.
We
did.
did.
Not,
We had a
Steve?
pretty good poll.
To our beautiful
we didn't get
listener
all the
base.
votes we got last week, but they can't all be winners, people. Okay, we put these things out there. They're not all going to be home runs. This one was just merely maybe a double in terms of responses.
Yeah. I'll always take a double.
We'll always take a double. Okay, so here's today's question. Do you want to see changes made to Jay Gruden's staff this offseason? And the responses, the choices rather the public had were a new offensive coordinator and or staff, new defensive coordinator and or staff, a new special teams coach, or absolutely not, no changes. Excuse me, no changes. So that is options. Sure. So let's start with Sean this time. Sean, you need to tell us what you think the public would have voted for and what you think personally about this question.
I am going to say people went defense.
Okay.
I think we need offensive talent in a lot of places, but I'm not so sure. I mean, was there an all?
There's
all
not an
of the
all of the above question. As always, there's Twitter limitations
there are
here. We can't
guys-
do too many choices on this thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally,
so it's a
we would
priority
like to list
question.
every coach and have people vote on them. But
Yeah, if somebody from Twitter's
not
listening,
happening.
you got to give us more than 4 choices on the poll. We are so limited by this. This could be such a much better project if you could give us
I don't
7
know.
or 8 choices.
You get more
I don't
choices
know.
for president in
You
some
do.
states.
And sometimes we need more choices when it comes to president.
I'm gonna say offense. I'm gonna say offense. Was that A?
So you
Yes.
So that's your choice?
I'm gonna go with A, and that's my what I think people. No, that's what I think people are gonna say. And you know
Okay.
what? Frankly, I'm gonna
Offense.
agree with
So
them.
Alex, you're up.
Okay. Well, I mean, this was my idea for poll. I think that the public is going to go with the, special teams because they really screwed the pooch on special teams towards the end of the year. And now, I've got like a whole laundry list of certain coaches I'd keep in all
You've got a laundry
phases.
list of everything when it comes to the
And certain
Redskins,
ones-
Alex.
Right, I know. And I actually have lists of replacements who I'd want and all that nonsense. But I'm just going to say, broadly for me, it's actually going to be offensive position coaches I would replace. So I'm going to say offense personally, but I think the public probably wants special teams.
Okay. Well, should I guess what I think the public should?
It depends on how strong you think that special team stink is.
Yeah, well, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, because I can't give
answer.
you. Yeah, I know.
You
So I
know
can't
the
exactly
answer.
guess what the public thinks, because I actually have the answers in front of me.
Yeah, but what
Okay.
do you think?
I think that in particular the defensive coordinator needs to get a pass, and
Sure.
Well, it's
First year?
It's not just the first year. I mean, we were down to about the 19th string linebacker by the end of the year, and we lost our number one
Okay,
draft
fair
pick.
enough.
In Jonathan Allen, the defensive line was crazy, and frankly, the same could be said for the offensive coordinator too. Considering what we have 26 different combinations of offensive lines, this year, something like that, crazy
Something like that, yeah.
We lost every running back that's ever picked up a ball. All of them got hurt, and so I tend to think this coaching staff needs to get a little break, except for special teams. I think our special teams, I realize that all the injuries cause depth problems. I get it. Don't at me. I understand that. But when you have what was consistently the worst punt coverage and punt return team in the league by far, Something needs to change. So Kotwica's special forces, like I said before, are more like the Argentinian special forces and not actual Green Berets. And so I would have, had I voted, which I didn't, but had I voted, I would have voted for new special teams coach. And coincidentally, I must say, the public agrees with me by a vote of 48%. 48% of you out there said we need a new special teams coach.
I mean, I'm kind of surprised Kotwica didn't get cut out of it last year, when he had the embarrassing peeing on the sideline incident that everyone took video of.
Who cares? I mean, they do it all the time.
I
you don't want to show your
your
thingy on national television, but, I mean, that's not a reason to fire a guy.
Nah. Why don't they have, like, an outhouse out there for the
You guys ever heard Mark Schlereth's stories about that? If you listen to him talk,
I
feel like we've talked about that on the show before, too.
They just pee right, they just
at every level.
Pee right there. So, I think football may be the only job anywhere where you can pull your pants down and pee on national television and not be criticized for it.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard some even worse things.
I've seen some. There's some photos out there of players with brown stains on their white pants.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Okay, that's enough of that tangent. By the way, I meant to add. What was the fallout after that? Did somebody get fined for that?
What you mean for Kotwica's thing? I don't.
For Kotwica's,
no one got fined or
sideline
anything.
excursion.
I think probably the
everyone just kind of made fun.
Fox
straight up
censors
right at the
might have
camera.
had a heart
Man, that
attack
was-
over it though. It's probably some medical bills.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Anyway,
think that's more likely.
back to the poll.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay,
Back to the
so it was
tell us how the breakdown
48%
was.
for
Back to the
special
matter at
teams
hand.
coach. Please get us a new special team coach. 25% of you out there said new offensive coordinator and or staff. That surprised me a little bit, quite honestly. 15% said no changes, and only a mere 12% of you out there want new defensive coaches. So it was special teams.
I think that's
Special
not
teams
totally
offensive
surprising
coordinator,
to me.
no changes, and defense last. We did have some comments. Again, we got a good amount of comments, I'd say. We're going to first go with our buddy Kelly chimed in on this, our Kelly of Hogseye fame, who he writes.
Kelly, by the way, moving back to Maryland, I found out. So,
Kelly moving back to
cool.
Kelly is at
nice.
John Worrell is his Twitter handle, and he wrote special teams for sure.
Right.
Not exactly insightful, Kelly. You can do maybe a little bit better on giving us some substantive comments, but because we love you, we're going to write it anyway.
Lay off him. He's
Wow.
probably got like 2 hours.
He needs to
of
do
sleep. He's got a
better.
new one.
He needs to understand that he has an obligation to the Hogsty to give us some substantive comments. And so I actually read your comment because it was crap.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Way to show the
Shoot,
fans
he's a
some
fan.
love.
Yeah, no, it was a great comment, Kelly. Never mind. It was just an awesome comment. I'm going to go with CW Barr, who's at
Steve.
RC Redskins. He wrote also.
Okay.
He does.
He writes a lot.
He wrote, special teams were terrible last year, actually getting worse as the season progressed. I know injuries happened, and Bruce's draft picks didn't play much special teams. Still, there's no excuse for how poorly they played. Time for a change there. I think he was chasing the 280 character thing with that comment, but I don't disagree with him. Eric Rosso, who's at Redskins90, said new head coach, please. So he called an audible on our poll. That wasn't a choice, Eric.
Sure.
But we understand your feelings. And
I mean, yeah, there's going to be that contingent that always hates the head coach, no matter who.
yeah,
the head
well,
coach
I
becomes.
mean, look, the man is, slightly below 500, as overall. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay, and the last one I'm going to read here. Now, principally, he had a good comment, but the main reason why I'm reading was he has a really interesting name. He is at Fuzzy Nuts, 1998. Yeah, exactly.
Nice and sponsor-friendly.
So, Mr. Fuzzy Nuts, who goes by Squirrel Master, he writes, Squirrel Master at Fuzzy Nuts. Yeah, exactly.
The plot
He
thickens.
writes, we need an offensive coordinator that specializes in running the ball. Jay's a great quarterback passing coach, but his run offense sucks. Some of that's due to mediocre running backs.
Yeah, that's
a lot
I'm
is on
there.
him. Our special team sucks too, but I voted offensive coordinator. I feel like the defensive coordinator was hurt because of injuries and deserves another chance. So he, Mr. Nuts, you had actually a pretty good comment.
Yeah, that's I actually like that a lot. I've seen that a couple places. It might have also been him who mentioned it, on other places
Could
on
be.
Twitter. But I've seen that kind of thought process before, that we really need to find somebody else who can kind of grow the run
Well, can we
game.
talk about this? We're talking about coaches. We're doing a little coaches segment. I think everybody out there is drastically underestimating Jay Gruden's willingness to run the ball. I know he's a passing guy, Mr. Arena football, and didn't I write an article about this a couple years ago?
Yeah, you wrote a very
I read
long
all of my
article about
articles.
that I criticized.
Well, and there was this
fairly
part
heavily.
2 that Alex, peeked behind the curtain. I wrote a part 2 to that we never published because you told me it was horrible and it had no point. So we threw it away. I probably still have it somewhere. Maybe I'll dredge it out just to irritate you. But no, my point is, I think Jay this year, more so than the past 3 seasons, showed he does want to run the ball. We just had no ability to do it. Mm-hmm. So I think, just for example, if we get like a Saquon Barkley, we won't because he's going to be drafted too high. But if we did, I think Jay would know what to do with him. I think you guys out there are underestimating Jay's past happy tendencies. I think he wants to do it. He just can't. He's like,
I don't. Steve,
like
you're blowing my mind right now. If I had a nickel for every time you got up here and said we abandoned it too early,
but I didn't say it
personnel
this year,
aside,
though. I
I'd
said
be a
it
rich
in
man.
years past. This year, he tried it, and it failed.
He said it a little bit.
Jay's like the ugly guy trying to date the
that's
hot
true.
chick in high school. He keeps trying and trying and trying. He just can't get there.
Yeah. I know that all too well, Steve. That's
didn't we
a
all live that?
harmful analogy.
Yeah. I mean, I do know a lot of fans suddenly got really high on Nick Chubb for some reason after Monday night. Really wanting Nick Chubb.
You're about to get me in another tangent. You
these
start
things
me on
are-
Alabama football. Don't.
Yeah.
It won't
Well,
go well.
I know. I'm just saying, I saw a lot of people be like, let's get Nick Chubb. I'm like, okay.
We
calm
need
down,
talent more than
everybody.
anything.
These things are going to change 1,000
But
times.
my point
over the course
is,
of this
I don't know
offseason.
what you guys think about
gonna
the
be
coaching
insane.
staff. I mean, we did our little poll, but I tend to think other than special teams, we need to hold these guys together for another year. I think consistency is in order in this case. We really need to see another round of draft talent and a solid year without a billion injuries and see what happens. That's my vote.
There's two
Yeah.
guys who I would have maybe changed out. I don't know if it's too late at this point. And that's the running back coach, Randy Jordan. I've talked about that ad nauseum. But also, I've seen other people starting to mention this. Maybe we should look for another wide receivers coach because, we are just dreadful at the position. Maybe they just need someone else, a fresh set of eyes to coach
I'm
them up
available. I
more.
was a high school receiver.
But,
Yeah. Yeah. You could make this argument about so many positions.
Sure.
I can,
But like Callahan is considered one of the best position coaches for O-line in the NFL. You're not going to move him, for example.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing about this year is the injuries, like Steve said, and the talent questions that exist all around makes all of this hard to assess.
Sure.
It's so hard to point at the coaching staff and where they might have a hand in this just because we know that the talent has not been where it's at, and the health definitely hasn't either.
Yeah,
I
fair
can see
enough.
you making an argument for any of these things. By the way, thanks to everybody who wrote in for that poll, and I just wanted to say, conversation is lively over at thehogsty.com.
Yeah,
we are
sorry.
loving it. We got people commenting on it. We got it's great. We got our comment section installed there, so please go on over to thehogsty.com, sign up, and start commenting. It's a great community. We're having a lot of fun, so
It costs
we'll see
$20
you there,
a
I
month.
really hope.
Yeah.
please leave us a check.
No. No, for the low,
guy
low
did
price of
ask,
$3.99.
Hey, can I donate some money to you guys? I'm like, we don't really have a way
Don't
to
tell
do
him that. Good
but
God, Alex.
stand
Say
by.
yes. What
Yeah,
are you
what
talking
the
about?
hell?
What am I? What,
what you
am I
run
gonna
this
have him
by
mail
us.
me a check?
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
want to give those
Yes.
weirdos my
We will
address.
figure it out.
Why do you think we opened that Swiss
We will
bank
figure it
account?
out. Do not. Have you learned nothing from being around an attorney? Never turn down money. Okay. I want to donate money. Yes.
You can take one thing. If you take one thing from us tonight, it won't be anything about the Redskins.
Oh, I just told them to buy T-shirts. Buy $20 worth of T-shirts, or $200
Hey, that'll
worth
work
of
too.
T-shirts, so we get $20, whatever the ratio is.
Something like that.
That'll work too. But hey, we can't. We're being very shameless.
Hey, we're
right now.
about
We
to
can't
have
do
a
this.
way for them to
all right,
contribute money to it. We can't talk about that. I should shut up. We're about to have another good thing come around for us. But
Yes, we are.
See, this is why I said we had a passable show for you guys tonight. Let's segue from that into a little bit of a playoffs conversation because we had some great games this past weekend. We've got some awesome
man.
matchups coming up. You guys want to talk about a little bit about wild card round that we just came
Sure,
through?
let's go through that. I was telling you guys before the show, 3 of the 4 teams I was kind of rooting for in the wild cards lost.
Oh.
The only one who advanced was New Orleans. Every other game I was kind of rooting for the guy who got their butt handed to him at some point. So, I was pretty bummed out after Wild
I was
Card
pretty happy.
Weekend. I was really hoping for the Bills too. I don't know why. I have a soft spot for the
Well,
Bills.
it's because they're lovable losers. They
Yeah,
they live in a horrible city in a horrible state with horrible weather. They've had a horrible team.
Sure.
Their life stinks, and they had a little bit of sunshine.
I mean, my parents both went to SUNY Buffalo. That's part of it too.
they couldn't get in anywhere else, huh?
That's not. My dad got
That was
knocked out at Juilliard, and so he became a
No,
lawyer
I would have
instead.
stuck in Juilliard if I were him. Would have been a better idea.
Ouch. Well, that game, Bills-Jaguars, was a truly pathetic game.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you mustered much enthusiasm for it at all, Alex, and you were pulling for anybody in that one. But gotta say, I did watch that one. Very boring. Jaguars, I guess, have a decent defense. I don't know.
Jaguars
where that
don't have
really
a
came
decent
from,
defense. They have
but,
the best defense in the playoffs. By my ranking system I published a
I
couple
don't know
weeks
where
ago,
that came from.
last week, they have the number one defense in the playoffs across the board. It's
It
ridiculous.
is ridiculously good.
It's not going to be enough. That's definitely the weakest team that is advanced, though, either way, because their offense is atrocious and ridiculous. And
Oh yeah,
Bortles
they're
was
not
their
gonna.
leading
I don't
rusher,
think they're gonna
think.
get past Pittsburgh.
Look,
There's
Blake
no way.
Bortles
There's no
had
way.
a quarterback rating this year of 84.7, I think it was. But
There we go.
if you look at what he did, the reason why his rating was even that high is that he played the Colts twice, and then he played the Texans late in the season when they had everybody under the sun injured.
Right.
Those are the 3 games that he passed for 300 yards. All the rest of them were pretty terrible, and he passed for 75 yards, 7-5 against the Jags. So anybody, Shad Khan came out a few weeks ago and said, "Oh yeah, maybe we were right about Blake Bortles." Well, no, you were not, Shad. Mr. Khan, you were wrong about him. He's terrible.
I mean,
horrible.
What? So he had 150 yards, but it's half running, half receiving,
Yes,
right?
roughly,
Something like
yes.
that.
Yeah, something like
It's
that.
absurd.
Yeah, it was. And Steve, I wanted to ask: is there any way that the schedule assisted them in that number one defense ranking? I mean,
they played the AFC South.
That led to this.
They did play the Colts twice and the Texans twice. But look, I mean, it's legit. Okay, their defense is legit. They have a ton of young talent on that team. They're aggressive. They are for real. I mean, this is a team that beat the Steelers 30-6 early in this 30-9, and maybe it was early in the year. They are for real. Well,
bizarre things.
Let's just talk about this game. In the first game, the Steelers-Jags game, Ben Roethlisberger threw for 5 interceptions, had one of the worst games of his career, had a quarterback rating of 37. Le'Veon Bell ran for less than 50 yards. There is no way that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have that bad a game a second time, particularly in bad weather in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, and now that we've, Blake Bortles has been exposed for a traffic cone, maybe instead of a passable NFL quarterback.
Sure.
As good as the Jacksonville defense is, I'm not sure they have enough offensive tools to beat the Steelers at home in January, unless they get Leonard Fournette rolling, and he just runs wild. I think that's their only hope. I don't know if you guys feel free to chime in because we're doing a show.
No, I kind of agree with you. I think I don't think that Pittsburgh's going to run up the score or anything, but it's going to be like a 17-7 kind of game, kind of like a little bit better than what we just saw with them versus the Bills. The Jaguars, like you keep on talking about this great defense. They're what most recently the Seahawks were a couple of years ago, but they don't have a Russell Wilson.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
And if you don't have at least a passable quarterback back there, I don't see how you get deep in the playoffs.
If
really
the Jaguars had a good quarterback, not even a great quarterback, a good quarterback, I think they're a Super Bowl team.
Oh, probably. Yeah. If you gave them middle of the pack guy who averages 200 yards a game.
Or how about a certain guy in Pig Latin who goes by the name Kirk Cousins K?
Sure. I mean, I think you put Kirk on that team. They're a 15-win team in the regular
15
season.
15 wins is a lot of wins, but yeah, I mean they're.
Yeah.
I'm just after studying them.
It's a ridiculous
after studying
defense.
them, and they have a lot of young talent on offense too. They just need a guy who can play. And Blake Bortles is horrible. He is terrible. I mean, he did well against the Colts, who were equally terrible, and the Texans, who by the end of the year had lost everybody. So
Yeah. Texans were one of the only teams more injured than the Redskins.
yeah, it was
this
a close.
year.
It was a close run, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus, I didn't know that.
Somebody did the whole count up the number of missed starts, and the Texans beat us by like 4 or something.
Well, and the
It's
problem with the
very
Texans,
close.
they lost J.J. Watt. They lost. At least we kept Ryan Kerrigan on the field.
We kept our starting quarterback
Yeah,
and our
it's true.
best.
But
defensive
just
player.
as an example, Sean, about how good Jacksonville was, if you go to our playoff preview, which is on our site on hogsty.com, I'll put another link out to it on Twitter. But what I did, the methodology, very briefly, was I rank ordered every team in the playoffs from 1 to 12 on a bunch of different defensive and offensive categories. And that gives us an idea what team has been consistently better, And so then I averaged them all and came up with an average for each team. Well, Jacksonville on the defensive rankings averaged 2.7, meaning that in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 12 different categories, they averaged 2.7. In contrast, Kansas City on defense averaged 8.7. Okay, the Steelers were at about 6, a little over 6, and so they were terrible in the red zone. They were 12th in the playoff among playoff teams, the red zone defense. They're not that good for a playoff team, but Jacksonville's
Sure.
Steve, you're
Jacksonville's
insane, but I love
offense
you.
though is just as bad as their defense is good when it comes to passing. They
Right.
have a good run game, but they're Bortles is just Bortles is Bortles. So Bortles is going to Bortle,
yeah, exactly.
and which means that ultimately I think the Steelers will figure out a way to pull it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's move.
Yep. Hey,
Yeah.
Let's talk about one of these other games.
Yeah, can we move on to the game that's going to be really awkward for me because I'm going to be in Lincolnshire, Pennsylvania, with my college roommate watching the Eagles.
Yeah,
get
definitely
their
root
ass
for the
handed to 'em
Falcons. Yeah.
at 4-something. Yeah. So I don't know. I need some mace or something because I imagine he's going to get pretty depressed and angry. After
Well, let me
the
give you
Eagles
some
lose that
numbers.
game.
Since we're talking about this, let's talk about offense, shall we? Let's do. Now, if you go into the preview and you look at my same rankings here, the Philadelphia Eagles offense ended up being fifth in amongst playoff teams on offense on my rankings, and they averaged 5.8, meaning they were all these categories you rank them from 1 to 12. They came out their average is 5.8. Atlanta was a little bit worse at 6.1. The reason being is, they don't run the ball as well. Philadelphia's a great running team. But the thing about Philadelphia is Carson Wentz is not there. And so these passing stats that are on here and their yearly passing stats are out the window because it's Nick Foles, not Carson Wentz. And so I think this is the game to me, with a ton of playoff experience in Matt Ryan, and they were in the Super Bowl, blah blah blah. I think this is the game that could be a possible upset. And I say this with all due respect to our anti-Eagles bias. I mean, I get it. We don't like the Eagles, but I legitimately think that the Falcons could figure out a way, as long as the weather isn't terrible, because the Falcons are a southern-based dome team. If the weather is horrible in Philadelphia this weekend, all bets are off.
Soft is what that says.
But I think the Falcons have a shot if they can get some decent weather.
And I don't actually think it's an upset. At least in Vegas right now, the Falcons are favored, is what I've heard.
The
because of
quarterback
the whole,
situation.
Nick Foles, possibly Nate Sudfeld.
Can you
getting a
imagine
start or
if
getting
Nate
some playing
freaking
time?
Sudfeld wins a playoff game for the Eagles?
Oh no, I can't imagine because it's not going to happen. But I can barely imagine the fact that he'll play in a
It's
playoff game.
unbelievable.
That's
When you
I-
interviewed
that's
him
wild.
6 months ago, did you ever have the thought in your head that this is the Eagles' future starting quarterback?
Well, no, remember when I interviewed him and I said, "Hey, if you ever get any playing time, it means something's
Yeah.
gone really wrong." Well, he got playing time in Week 17 for the Eagles. So guess what that
And
means
just
for the Eagles?
a bit of advice for anybody who's interviewing football players: don't insult them by claiming they don't.
He wasn't insulted. He understood. Dude, third-string quarterbacks know what their role
If
is.
you're playing,
They
there
know
must
they're
be something
third-string
really
quarterbacks.
wrong if you're going to be on the field. But thanks for talking to us anyway. www.hogsty.com.
It was fun. He got cut
that's
2
how we
weeks
do.
later.
Yeah, he did. That's true. He got.
Well, if I can add anything to that comprehensive preview, I would just say, obviously, the Falcons are coming off a big defensive game, I think,
Sure.
against the Rams. That was a big thing for them to be able to slow the Rams down. So I think they definitely have it in them. It seems like an obvious one for them to take.
Can I
in
just throw
my
some
opinion.
water on
So,
the Rams? The
absolutely,
Rams
please do.
have no playoff
don't
experience. They're actually better on the road than they are at home in some respects. And they played a fairly soft schedule. Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like they were facing the gauntlet that the Redskins did, for example. The Rams played. This is also in our preview. The Rams played eight games against winning teams this year. Only won 4 of them. You can contrast that with Jacksonville, who
there you
played
go.
7 games against winning teams and won 6 of them. So I think
Yep.
the Rams are
I
a
mean,
year away.
I wasn't totally shocked the Rams lost. I was just kind of rooting for Sean
I think the
McVay.
Rams are a year away,
You know.
is what I think.
Yeah, they're
2.
probably a year away.
Yeah.
They're definitely not going to do it this
No,
year.
they're at
I know
home
that
now.
much.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, yeah. That much we can be sure
Hey,
about.
can we talk about the Vikings
Game of the
Saints
week,
game?
baby.
Because I think that
Yeah, I
might be the
agree.
game of the week
Game of
at
the
this
week.
point.
That's the Bounty Gate rematch, right? From a couple years ago.
Was
That was
it-
the game.
was it
I
the
think, wasn't
Was
Vikings?
it?
Viking Saints. I thought it was.
sure?
Pretty sure.
It's not the Bounty.
Somebody-
That wasn't
somebody
Bounty
check me on
Gate. The
that,
Saints
you
got
can-
in trouble.
You can tweet at us.
That wasn't in the playoffs, though.
No, it wasn't in the playoffs.
It's the same
Was it?
teams, though. I think that it came from. Here, here.
All right.
Go ahead and hit him with the preview
Okay,
while I
all right.
fact check
So-
myself.
Go ahead, Alex.
I mean, Steve, you reposted something that I thought was very
I did?
interesting. I think it was a Kime piece about how this is how the
Oh,
Redskins
yeah.
should build a run team, build a super defense, and just
Yeah, that was from
roll with
Wednesday,
it, right?
if you guys want to look it up. It was a real good piece by Kime on ESPN.com.
Yeah, and in principle, I like it because ideally that's how I want a team built. I don't think the Redskins are anywhere close to building that kind of team, but
They can build one
to
piece
talk
at a
about
time.
this
They just need a
game-
lot of pieces.
Sure,
It was Vikings.
sure. But to talk about this game, I love how the Saints looked last week. I thought they were just a lot of fun to watch. Breeze kind of had to
That was a
take it
good
on
game.
the shoulders last week, but I think this week that running game probably.
Well, you want to
got
take a
going.
stab?
I don't know why.
You
I
want
just
to take a
get that
stab at
feeling.
what team graded out as the best offense in the playoffs? And
Well,
my
in your
rankings.
thing, I'm going to assume it was the Saints.
By a lot,
Yeah.
by the way, even including New England.
I mean, they have a ridiculous run game, and they have a Hall of Fame quarterback. What
Yeah,
do
I
you
mean,
expect?
they were a point and a half better than the Patriots, who suffer because they have a terrible run game.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously have Brady and
Right.
Tom Terrific and all that passing, but the Saints are a complete team overall. I mean, they were number 1 on my system in completion percentage. Completion percentage, quarterback rating, run yards per attempt. They were 4th in red zone. The only thing that they weren't quite as good at is third down conversions. And Minnesota has a
Okay.
very tough defense. And so it's the kind of thing that Minnesota's goal is going to be to want to get them into 3rd and long. Focus on Alvin
Right.
Kamara and Ingram, the running backs. Try to keep them from going crazy on first and 2nd down, and then keep them in 3rd and long. And unbelievable. I can't believe
Force Drew Brees
Yeah,
to
I know.
beat you on 3rd
I
and
can't believe
long.
I'm going to say this, but force Drew Brees to beat you, which
Yeah.
of course he can, and he does frequently. But
Right.
I think that's the game plan.
Right.
If I had to focus on one thing, and
That's
I
the
was
irony.
the Minnesota, it would be Alvin Kamara. Stop Alvin Kamara, because he's so versatile. He can do so many things. And then, force Drew Brees to become the Drew Brees from 2000. What was the Super Bowl year? 9, 10, whatever year it was.
Was
I
it
don't
that
know.
long ago already?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And force Drew Brees to become that guy and have him beat you through his arm. And I think that's your chance, if you ask me.
I mean, I don't disagree, but I mean, we just saw the
I'm not saying it's
Panthers do the
possible.
exact
I'm
same
saying
plan.
And by the way,
Yeah.
the Panthers graded out really low this year. The Panthers had all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
Cam Newton did not have a good year whatsoever. And on offense and
No.
defense, their defensive rankings were way off from where they have been in the past. So it wasn't surprising to
But
me
they're
that the
still
Saints.
a defensive
Yeah, but
team,
I'm just telling
right?
you,
I mean,
they were ninth. They came out ninth of 12 teams on the defensive rankings.
okay.
They just didn't
Well,
have.
I've never been a big Panthers fan. Just the Cam Newton's attitude always kind of.
I kind of
irks
like the
me.
guy, but I mean, in terms of defense, they just weren't the same team as they were all year. They were certainly not against the pass.
and they're not what they were when they went to the Super Bowl a couple years
They were good
ago. I
against the
know
run,
that,
not good against the pass.
right. And their offense always kind of feels like something that's trying to get
It's
into
like
first gear.
the
That's
Panth-
how I've
as
always kind of
goes
described their offense.
Cam Newton
Yeah.
goes the Panthers, and if Cam is,
Right.
you know what, Cam's on the couch. Let's forget about Cam. But point
Yeah.
is,
Okay, well, anyway,
Vikings Saints.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about the Vikings real quick. Yeah,
Yeah, Saints-Vikings is the matchup, obviously.
right.
Weak interior line, I would say, for the Saints. That would probably be one concern.
Yeah.
Right. Lost another guy against the Panthers this past week. Somebody broke their leg, I believe. I'm forgetting his name. Blanking on his name.
Calvin Thomas. No, I just made that name up.
Was that
I
it?
don't know.
Yeah, I was like, what? Pete.
Pete.
Pete is who it is. Andres Pete. Yeah,
Well,
what do you guys think?
Look,
who do you think
Minnesota
takes
was
this one?
already lacking in the sack department. They came out 10th in sacks of the 12 playoff teams. They have talent. They didn't get a ton of sacks. They obviously, they were point wise. They had the lowest number of points scored out of them of any team in the playoffs. Lowest number of total yards. Second in passing yards. First in TD passes, second in rushing yards. I mean, it's a quality defense. It was second only to Jacksonville's in the annual rankings by my system. So they are a very quality defense. That having been said, they're going up against a monster. The Saints team, the 2017 Saints are like no other Saints team I can remember personally.
Oh no!
They're
I mean,
that
because the
good.
Saints have, as long as you can remember, they've been the
Yeah.
Air Saints. It's always been on Drew Brees to throw 5,000 yards, and maybe they run it twice.
What the Vikings have,
that's kind of
what the
been their
Vikings
MO.
have going for them is that this game is in Minnesota. Now it's a dome, and so you don't get to play the elements,
Yes.
but nonetheless, it's the Saints on the road. The Vikings are 13-3. I think we'd be remiss in addressing the Vikings and not talking about the quarterback, Case Keenum or Teddy Bridgewater. I assume it's Keenum. Going to play.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not going to switch horses now, are they? They're
wouldn't
not going to
think-
pull
I
a
wouldn't
Nick
think so.
Saban.
Well, yeah, Nick Saban would do anything as long as his master Satan lets him do it.
But yeah, I mean that's the point though. Even though they have a very interesting backup quarterback there, I don't think they're going to make
I
that
don't
move.
either.
And
Well, why would they? Has he given them any
No,
reason
he hasn't.
to doubt? I mean, there's no reason to make a change now, even if they. It's not just. It's obviously a hot hand, but he's given. Yeah,
I mean,
no
the
reason
Saints
to
have
doubt.
talent.
And-
Look, I mean,
71% of his passes.
yeah, look, I mean,
15
Minnesota has
touchdowns.
a lot of talent. They have,
Right.
They've got Adam Thielen, who's was one of the top receivers in the league this year. I mean, they have a lot of talent. And is their offense up to the quality of New Orleans? No, but they have a vicious defense.
No.
And I think
Right.
Drew Brees is the type.
Yeah.
If you do what I suggested and try to stop Alvin Kamara from going crazy, limit Mark Ingram's effectiveness, and then you also get to Brees, and get him frustrated and put a lot of pressure on him. That's when things could go south for the Saints.
I agree. Here's my one thought about how this game's going to go. It's really a strength for strength game, which makes it a lot of fun. It'll be at its best when the Vikings defense is against the Saints offense, but that the other side is just going to be as good, I feel like, because that Saints defense is decent enough, and so you're going to see a lot more, I think, back and forth on this, as it's kind of strength for strength, weakness versus weakness. all across
The
the board in
Saints
this game.
defense ranked out on my system is 6 out of 12. So they're not terrible.
So,
In
yeah,
middle of the
middle
pack.
of the
They're not
pack.
terrible. Not great, not terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playoffs are a different beast. What
Well,
have
we've-
we not talked about?
We
Is
didn't
there
cover
any-
Chiefs Titans.
Not
Chiefs
Or,
Titans.
I'm
Wow,
sorry,
that was a
not
crazy
Chiefs,
end to that
Titans.
game, wasn't it?
Who was it?
Patriots.
Well, we didn't
Titans.
talk about that.
Now,
Patriots Titans.
We've got to talk about that crazy play, though. Mariota's
have you ever seen that? That's
bro.
Mariota with the self-love. I mean,
Well, Brett Favre had that
was
famous
awesome.
pass to himself to start his career, but he wasn't.
I just don't think that if Marcus Mariota tried to do that, actively tried to do that again, I think he would fail 900 times out of
course not.
1,000. No.
You can't scheme that. It's a beautiful replay, though. It certainly
Sure
had a
did.
big impact on the game.
Yeah.
That'll go down.
But listen, Titans, Patriots. Apparently, there's going to be bad weather in New England this weekend. Could be awful weather, from what I understand, in New England. It's Tom Terrific at home in the playoffs against a team that,
most people don't think should be.
yeah,
in the playoffs.
if you read my preview, you will see that Tennessee and Buffalo were the two teams that look like they don't belong in terms of what they accomplished in the year. And so the idea that the Titans are going to go up there and beat New England at home in January in awful weather seems far-fetched. If you give them a shot, I would say what their shot needs to be is Derrick Henry. They need to let Derrick Henry run wild, because the one weakness that New England has this year is that their defense has been terrible. They got a little better, but they have a serious weakness against the run. And so if you let Derrick Henry take the reins, so to speak, and get him going, number one, you keep Brady off the field. But that may be the way, if you keep Brady off the field and, you're able to score, that would be their shot. But it's a long shot at best, obviously.
Yeah.
That's always your best shot.
And then, and listen, I mean, if there's a weakness that Tom Brady has, it's that he gets frustrated when he gets hit. He starts blaming his offensive line, and he starts screaming at the guys around him. And if things go south for Tom Terrific, that's when it happens. Is when you get a lot of pressure right up front and right in his face. And that's when, if things are going to go bad, to me, that's when it happens. And so if you figure out a way to get pressure on Brady, coupled with a strong game from Derrick Henry, maybe the Titans have a shot. Probably not.
Yeah,
Do
majorly
you guys
uphill
make anything
battle.
of the whole infighting in New England stories that's been going around? Or do you think it's all?
I think you're in there's smoke, there's fire to a certain extent. I mean, I think Tom Brady has a ton of ego. I think he's a narcissist. I don't know if he's a narcissist. I shouldn't say that. I think he's got a lot of ego. I think Bill Belichick has a lot of ego. And listen, Jimmy Garoppolo looked like the heir apparent. Is it beyond the pale that maybe Brady wanted to get rid of Garoppolo? It's not that far-fetched. I could see it happening.
No.
And especially if he's hooked up with this weirdo, Alex Guerrero, who's some new age guru, trainer guy.
No, we've heard about him before over the years.
Is it beyond? Is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? I mean, I don't know.
Never trust a man who wears tie-dye pants. That's what I've always said, and I'll say it till
It's
I
not a
die.
bad thing.
No,
Yeah.
it's a fair rule to live by. I agree. There's smoke, there's fire. I'm a little surprised to be hearing
It's got to
stories
fall
like this
apart
coming
at
out
some
now.
time.
It's the timing is weird.
It's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's been 18
You're right, but I'm going to need to
so-
see flames.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to actually see the flames to believe.
I put out an interesting stat today. Here's the stat of the day. Tom Brady is 25-9 in the playoffs. Apparently, over the course of his career, the Cleveland Browns as a franchise have
Sounds
won
about
24 games in the last 7 seasons.
Yeah, pile it onto the Browns.
course.
This is always the way to do it. Well, I don't know. I mean, this was in the news. I'm sure everyone and their mother has read this story, but they had a nice little parade down there in Cleveland. I don't know if you heard
I
that.
saw that. It was
They had a
adorable.
parade. I didn't see this. What was the parade?
They had
Yeah,
an 0-16
an 0-16 parade. And then there was a bunch of signs that were like, this is the first parade I've ever seen in Cleveland for the football team in my entire life.
Is this
I don't know.
self-flagellation? Is it, I mean...
Yes.
Yeah, you got to celebrate something. Everybody wants a parade, Steve.
Steve, remember how in the Middle Ages there were those people who would, they would literally just walk around carrying crosses.
Yeah,
and
that's
whipping
what I would think.
themselves?
Yeah,
that's
I
what
mean,
it
it's,
is.
let's just torture
Yeah.
ourselves more. At least, like
Right.
a team like UCF, called themselves a national champion, even though they weren't. but at least they went 13-0.
Right.
They have a reason. I mean, they got cheated. Alabama shouldn't have been in the playoffs. UFC, but the Browns are, I don't know, 0-16 parade.
Yeah, no, it's a whole thing.
Did they give the team a trophy?
It's a whole thing.
I think that technically, shouldn't the team have to give back a trophy?
They ought to give a refund to their season ticket holders.
Like go find a copy of the trophy they won when they were in the AAFL and melt it down with a blowtorch. That's how
if we make fun of the Browns too much, Ernest Biner will never come on the show again.
Oh,
yeah, we love Cleveland. Yeah, buy his sausage, by the way.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
What a fraud that is!
Drew
Don't
Carey.
get me started. That's another thing I have a rant on. Don't get me started.
Buy his sausage.
I didn't mean anything. That's your dirty mind. That's your dirty
I know.
mind.
No, he's being serious. The man really makes a good sausage.
Ernest Biner has put his sausage for sale.
Yeah, you can buy it online. All right, well, let's talk about the other news that came out this week, which is obviously a big interview. This was a long interview.
2 hours.
Kirk did. Yeah, 2 hours, question and answer format with Danny Rouillet, friend of the show, by the way. Been on the show. Love you, Danny. Alex, you're a huge Danny fan. I've got some of the transcript up here. I think one of you does too. What were the big takeaways, you think, from this interview with Kirk? Can we get anything out of this, guys?
I mean,
2 hours. Did anything come of it?
I'm sure you guys know he's going to say all the right things. He's not going to, upset the apple cart in an event like this.
We've heard all this before.
He's not going to go in front of, 500 Redskins fans, 300 Redskins fans, and be like, hey, see ya.
Right.
Kirk Cousins
Boy, the front office sucks.
Dumb.
Right.
Yeah. Hey,
right.
Bruce Allen did this to you.
What a
I'm
doofus.
out. Yeah. But no, there was one thing I took away from it early, and I think it was pretty telling, and it was that Kirk was very open about why he hesitated last year with the loss of McVay and Garcon and Deshaun Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always been that speculation. I don't think it's earth-shattering news, but he's never come out himself and said, I lost my best friend who was the offensive coordinator, and I lost my 2 best weapons. That's why I didn't resign.
What a bunch of complete crap.
Well, you can think that.
That's why I'm giving my opinion. I don't care what he said. It's really easy 6 months later when to in front of a very friendly crowd to explain why you didn't sign in such a way, in that kind of way. The truth of the matter on this, and I think I'm in the extreme minority in this opinion, and God knows that's not the first time this has happened, but the truth of the matter is that if the Washington Redskins had made Kirk Cousins a 5-year contract offer at market value, talking 120 million-ish, all this garbage about, well, my poor best friend, wasn't here and I needed to pray about it and I wanted to become a free agent and, my dad wouldn't let me and, all that would be gone and he'd be signed. The fact of the matter is the Washington Redskins front office did not make a real attempt to get this guy signed. If you didn't make him a 5-year contract offer, he was not going to sign it. And I wouldn't have either, and I don't blame him.
And I agree with you there, too. I think the fact that the offer was kind of
not only was it a low ball, people need to understand this, because nobody does. The offer included the franchise tag, okay? And so it was really a 2-year contract extension. That's what the Redskins offered him. They made no attempt to really sign him. He's saying the right things now. To his credit, he's very polished, he's very smart, he's very, very smooth. Mm-hmm. He's not going to say the wrong thing, especially not in front of, as you pointed out, 500 Redskin fans or however many people were there, in front of his buddies, Grant and Danny. But the simple fact of the matter is, this all would be completely different if the Redskins had made him a legitimate contract offer. I think the Redskins I don't think they're sold on him. I don't think they were sold on him last year. And I think the Redskins wanted to do barely enough so they could stand up and say, we tried, we did our best. And Kirk isn't going to upset the apple cart, as you said, and make the team look bad, because that's going to make him look bad in front of other franchises. Sure. So I don't know what you guys wanted him to say. He wasn't going to get up there and say, boy, the Redskins just screwed it up, and I was waiting for an offer and it never came, and F you. He's not going to do that.
I didn't want him to say that, obviously. I don't think no Redskins fan wants it to end that badly.
It's not going to end that badly.
There's probably a few weirdos who might want just to see. They're like the Joker. They want to see the world burn. But okay, another thing that he said that I thought was interesting. Apparently, he knew what Bruce Allen was going to say in the press the whole time after they didn't get a deal done, which. I think that was interesting that he says that he was told ahead of time.
Well, I mean, that's the right thing to do, but that doesn't stop the fact.
Hopefully,
I have no doubt that Bruce Allen communicated to his agent, that we're going to do a little presser and release a statement. I have no doubt that came out, but that doesn't stop the fact that was the freaking weirdest press conference I've ever seen. Bruce Allen in a room in some back closet room at Redskins Park in front of a handful of beat reporters who aren't the normal beat reporters, who it wasn't Rich Tandler and it was a bunch of guys, it was a bunch of different guys, and Bruce in a room. That was a strange press conference, no matter if they told Kirk about it or not.
Yeah, and but I assume that's the truth. That's what happened,
probably
at least. And the only other things that you kind of take away from it. He does seem to want to do a long-term deal this year with some team, but it's clear to me that he wants to go to free agency and see what's out there.
I think he knows that the Redskins
I don't blame him for that.
Have been so lukewarm on this guy. I think I might have said this on the last show. I think 31 other teams would have signed him to a 5-year deal last year. Only the Redskins would have hemmed and hawed about this. I'm not saying they should have Joe Flacco'd him, but they would have made a legitimate effort. You don't have a guy with a career quarterback rating of 100, and he passes for 4,000 yards a year, and you just let him walk. That's crazy.
Well, when you're sold on a guy, you extend that contract a year or two early. I mean, that's what good teams do. We're talking about doing it with Crowder this year, and they should. That's the right thing to do. Is you say, "Hey, Jameson, you haven't had a 1,000-yard season yet, but we like you. Here's 3 more years."
Look, am I in the minority here? Because I get the sense the fans completely buy this. They're taking. What my sense is, they took the Kirk, Danny presser, whatever you want to call it, kind of as gospel, and they are accepting the idea that, gosh, the Redskins tried hard, and we just couldn't get it done, and now I'm going to go to free. They're taking Kirk's word for it. I think it's a bunch of garbage. I think it's utter and complete garbage. And, the truth is that the Redskins didn't want to sign him. And they didn't. And that's what I think. And I think I'm the only one who thinks that, it seems like.
No, I agree. I think he knows he's played well enough to have gotten a better deal than he's gotten thus far. There is a small chip on his shoulder. I think everyone can see that. This dude talks about his agent so much. I mean, it's not a subtle thing. He's out there for money. He wants a better deal. I know, he says kind of the standard things you'd expect, but he wants to be appreciated. He wanted that long-term deal before, and it's just like there's nothing new that came out of this.
I agree.
It's the exact same situation to me.
I mean, like I said,
as it always
nothing
has
new
been.
or shocking came out about it. It's interesting. Like I said, it was interesting to hear him kind of say, which rumors. Because let's be honest, there's been about 30 different rumors about everything that's gone on the last few years. He was
twice as much. I'm
he
sure.
basically went through and said, "This one I agree with. This one I agree with."
I would just caution people. I mean, don't. If you've ever been in negotiations, don't take. You can't just necessarily take someone's one-sided statement in a friendly setting as gospel especially when it was 6 months later. It's real easy for Kirk to say the right thing now, but like I've always said, I've said this for months. You drive a Brinks truck up to a guy. My experience, I've been in a lot of business negotiations. I'm just telling you that attitudes and views and desires change when the Brinks truck is right in front of your door. I promise you that's the case.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case here.
I don't think
I
anyone
think a lot of
disagrees,
people
but
I think the majority of Redskins fans disagree with me just based on following our Twitter comments. They all think I'm crazy for thinking that.
No. Now there's a good chunk of fans who are like, no, Kirk should take a cheap deal because it shows
I think
loyalty.
they're also convinced that the front office, Kirk, the front office tried hard, and Kirk just wants to go to free agency. And Steve, you're stupid. I think most fans think that, and I think most fans are wrong, in my opinion.
I don't think the front office tried hard. I do think Kirk wants to go to free
Now
agency.
he does. I wouldn't blame him. You know, he's been disrespect. I mean, what else could the guy have done? But I mean, yeah, win a playoff game. But in terms of numbers and stuff, he's put up a hell of a lot of numbers. You know.
Yeah, and in a year like this, he did more than enough. He knows that, and that's the problem. I feel like the Redskins just don't. They're out of
and by the way,
at this point.
Last thing
they're
on
out
this,
of
and I
bluffs.
promise I'll
They're
stop
out
my
of
tyrant. For those of you out there who care what Kirk Cousins' dad
I don't
thinks,
believe you.
Are you kidding me? You know, are you kidding me? I mean, you're taking Mr. Cousins' word, who, by the way, spoke up. What, 6 months later? It's it is. I can't believe you guys out there actually think that something his dad said in November actually matters a single bit. That's insane. That's insane.
Of course not. Now it's his dad.
He's going to support his kid,
At
and
least
I'm
he's not doing what RG3.
Yeah, I mean, he's supporting his kid. I'm not faulting his dad at all. I mean, he's supporting his kid. But if you guys out there think that because his dad said something, that must be the gospel truth. That's crazy. His dad wasn't there.
Sure.
I don't think people really think that, Steve. Maybe a small
I
vocal
can name
minority
people
on
on our
Hogsty
Hogsty staff that think that. So.
Well, don't name names.
Name names.
Yeah.
They can speak for themselves.
All right, well, shoot, guys. With that, maybe we should cut it off this week, unless you guys want to throw anything else out there. We certainly did a lot this week. We have position group breakdowns, obviously, coming for you guys throughout the offseason. That'll be up very soon, and obviously more playoff previews. Anything else you guys want to get out?
Not a shocker, but farewell to Deuce Gruden, who is going to be joining his dad in Oak Vegas.
I think
Vegas.
Deuce is going to take one plane, and then his muscles are going to take another.
No, he's going to carry
That's
the plane.
right. He's going to carry the plane.
You know the strongman thing where they have the guys pull the truck
That's
with
going
their
to be
teeth?
Deuce dragging a plane down I-10. Yeah, I do have one other thing. Nice. Just because I want people to read it, I put a very long, another one of my magnum opus articles up. Was posted on Wednesday.
Good Lord.
For those of you who have not read it yet, about what we did is analyze the draft. From the Redskins drafts from 2010 to 2017, right. The idea behind it was to see if we could determine whether the Redskins were more successful in the draft in the Mike Shanahan era, in the Scott McGloin era, or in the Bruce Allen era. And we could talk about this for an hour, and we're not going to, but suffice to say that I think the results were a little bit surprising to me in that Bruce Allen fared better than you might expect in terms of players, and Scott McGloin fared a lot worse than I might expect, primarily because he had far more misses than either Shanahan or Allen. He missed on a lot of players, and it's. I thought it was a very interesting read, and I hope you guys check it out.
869
and I'm assuming in all of this you
by the way, on that article right now. 869 comments by yeah.
And I'm sure you weighted the success of each player as well as in your analysis.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the point.
Right?
I mean, it's Alex and I try to kick this around offline. There's just no way to objectively quantify that. It just wasn't possible.
Yeah, you can't break it down into a number.
I tried.
Like
I really did try. It just wasn't possible.
Yeah.
But believe me, I spent a good chunk of Sunday trying to figure that out. But point is, I read it because I think it was insightful in terms of if you can get past the Bruce Allen hate and seeing for the results he's produced, at least in the draft, I think you will find that he's been pretty good. So.
Nice. All right, well, that'll wet your whistle, folks. Check that out over on thehogsty.com for more information. Obviously, we will see you guys next time right here. Take care.